District 26 Republican primary runoff race is only days away. And as many of our viewers know, one particular family has been very outspoken about that Senate race. And of course, that is Senator Gary Stubblefield's family. Joining us is his daughter, Amber Sullivan, to talk about Senator Gary Stubblefield's legacy, his life, and of course, this race. Amber, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Jenny. Thanks for having me.
Of course. We have, of course, Conduit. We adored Senator Stubblefield, and he was really a stalwart there in the Senate. And for his constituents, I know that you all are still mourning him. A lot of people are still mourning him. And we know that his memory is not for sale. So tell us how we can help you, how we can help the Stubblefield family, and what's going on there in your district.
Well, first off, thank you for having me on here today. My father loved you guys. He loved what you did and are still doing, and he believed in you guys. But we are definitely in a battle. His district is probably one of the most contentious in the state right now, and I know everybody in the state is watching what is going on here with the prison, amongst several other issues. I think, namely, the prison is probably the most important. I know my dad, along with Brian King, has fought relentlessly against that. I think I've shared with a few others that my dad and Brian are David's fighting Goliath, and we've got to have someone in that seat that will fight the way my dad did. And we believe that Wade Dunn is that guy. We've known Wade for quite a while. My dad knew him for years. And when all of this happened back in September, my mom and I had a lot of conversations. I did speak with other members of the family. And we decided that we were going to reach out to Wade and see if he'd run. I talked to Brian King about it. He also felt the same. He said, I think Wade would be the number one guy to stand with me for your district. So
yeah,
we did reach out.
Well, I know that a lot of people have had opinions about this race and, of course, the endorsement, but what ultimately, I know that your father's legacy is so important, and preserving that, as well as making sure that that the constituents there and you guys have the right person in that seat. So what was it about Wade that ultimately you and your mom, Kathi, thought, he's the guy, this is a guy that we want to endorse?
So my mom and dad had known Wade and Susan for years. Been friends with them going back, I would say, 6, 7, 8 years. And Wade and Susan both shared the same convictions and beliefs that my mom and dad did. And my dad believed, and he had made this very clear to us several times in the past, that Wade would be a great candidate for his seat when my dad finished his term out. And he was one of 2 candidates that he believed, he would get behind in running for his seat.
So one of the things that I see on Facebook, and I'm sure you have as well, is, well, why then didn't Senator Stubblefield then endorse Wade? And that was in 2022 Republican primary race. Wade Dunn primaried Lee Johnson for that seat. And so, what do you say to people when they ask why your dad didn't endorse him then?
So the reason that he did not endorse him back in 2022 is that my dad's mother, which is Beulah Stubblefield, she was a patient of Dr. Lee Johnson's, and she loved him as a doctor. And my dad actually was the one that took her to her doctor visits with him. And it was asked that he would not get involved in that because of her relationship with Lee. And so my dad, respected that. He talked to Wade, and there is actually documentation of this, that he said, Wade, I'd love to get behind you, but to keep, everything good with my mother and Dr. Johnson, I'd rather not get involved. And he reached, and Wade was very receptive of that. He said, I absolutely understand that and respect that. And it's also not a secret that typically when you've got an incumbent, the other legislators don't endorse anyone. They won't endorse anyone running against an incumbent. That's just kind of been a thing for years. I know that it does happen occasionally, but they typically don't. But I do know the reasoning. And I mean, my mom was in the vehicle with my dad when he had this conversation with Wade. And he said, I'd love to endorse you, but I just can't because of my mother. So.
Yeah. What you said about legislators not endorsing when there's an incumbent, and I think you would agree, for a very long time, there was like this gentleman's rule where that really wasn't, they really didn't do that. They really didn't play in the primaries the way that we see now. And, it has gotten so ugly, Amber. I know that you've seen it there in Senate District 26. I received a text message. Several people actually sent me the text message that was sent out from, well, we don't know exactly who it was sent from because there's, doesn't have an IC or any PAC listed on it, but in support of Brad Simon attacking Wade Dunn. I know that you've seen it. What do you think about just all of everything that's going on there in Senate District 26 regarding just the lies and misinformation?
It was when I got that one last night, I was shocked because I mean, that could not be further from the truth. And even his opponent would have to go, oh my gosh, that was just pretty far out there. So the fact that we even have to defend ourselves against something like that there is a lot of mudslinging. I mean, we've seen it we feel like we're constantly having to defend ourselves between, just different aspects of this campaign, but we'll get through it.
Yeah, and I know that you will because you seem to have the same resolve and grit that your dad did. What do you also say to people, because I've heard this as well, that, oh, well, the Wade Dunn is using Senator Stubblefield's name, the Stubblefield family name. How do you also respond to people when they say that to you?
Wade is absolutely not using our name. In fact, I reached out to Wade in the very beginning. As I said, my mom and I had talked about it, and there were two people that we thought could hold that position close to the way my father did. And one gentleman had decided not to run, and the other was Wade. And so when I called him around the 1st of October, he said, I don't know, Amber, I just don't know. He said, I'm going to pray on it. We're going to, Susan and I are going to have to really put this before the Lord, and you're going to have to give us some time. And I think I waited 2 weeks and I called him again, and Brian, Senator King and I were talking, and he was like, we've got to get him to run, and so he finally decided that he felt like they should. So we announced, and we have constantly been in contact with Wade.
Your dad, I think everyone would agree to this. Your dad worked tirelessly against that proposed prison in Franklin County. He was always an advocate for constituents there. Tell us what that issue really means to your family and how it plays into this particular race.
Probably one of the most important issues at hand right now. One thing, we live not far from where this proposed prison site is.
Okay.
Number two, the way that it all started was so wrong and so hurtful to my dad that even gives us more fire to want to fight it. And it's just, it's wrong all the way around as far as it's going to affect the entire state. And that's something that's bothered me from the beginning is other parts of this state are going to be affected by this prison, not just us. And there are other resolutions. I mean, my dad had proposed adding on to, some of the other prisons we've already got, that the utilities are there, the workforce is there, or it can be brought in. Nothing about this site is going to work. And so we really need somebody that I know will stand with Brian and the few that are down there that are fighting it. And we know that Wade will do that. He will not cave.
What do you think whenever you look at the Republican primary races across the state, and many would argue that the Republican incumbents that are getting hit the hardest, have the nastiest mailers come out, are being primaried, those are the ones, the common denominator there is that they voted against the prison. Do you see it that way?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There is no doubt. There's an agenda, and you can see it. And that is what I'm hoping, that the people of this district are going to wake up and see there is more going on here than just two candidates running. There is a force behind some of these candidates, and it's scaring me to death. Like, we've got to wake up and realize that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Most definitely. You can look at Ron Caldwell's race, you can look at Brian King's race, and you can look at Wade Dunn's race, and there are similarities in all of them.
Something else that has caught the attention of a lot of Arkansans, because like you said, Senate District 26 is one of the races to watch. Not long after you and your mom, Kathi, came out and endorsed Wade Dunn, other family members then put out their endorsement. Would you speak to that and give our viewers some insight there?
That's a hard one, because I feel like I'm not going to speak on behalf of any of them. They have a right. My dad's brother and his family have the right to stand and support whom they choose. Honestly, you'd have to reach out to them. But I know that my mother, Kathi Stubblefield, that was married to my dad for 51 years, that spent every day of her life with him, she was a huge part of his political career in Little Rock. And she's the only one that has the right to speak on his behalf. Not myself, not any family member, but my mother. And she is the one that is speaking out for Wade. I'm doing a lot of the work for her because she is still grieving desperately. But at the end of the day, she is the one. If anyone's going to consider an endorsement, it needs to be from Kathi Stubblefield, Senator Stubblefield's wife.
Has there been a time, during all of this, of course, prior to this special election even happening, Amber, you had to go down and fight for the constituents there to even have representation. Has there been a point over the past few months where you and your mom are like, you know what, this is hard, and we need to mourn, and we've lost him, and we can't do? Was there ever a time when you were like, I can't keep doing this?
There's been a lot of times, and I'm sorry.
You're okay.
I draw my strength from the Lord, and I draw my strength from my father, because I watched him again the last year and a half being not healthy, and he still fought for these people that he loved. He still fought for this district. And I thought, if he can do that, I can do this for him now through our grievances. And it's not a secret that I was his girl besides my mom. My dad was my best friend. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
But he loved me unconditionally. He loved his family unconditionally. And he loved this district unconditionally. There were people that might have differed with him they may be on a whole nother end of the spectrum, political wise, but he still loved them. And you know what? They loved him. And we saw that after his passing. I saw people that would have never even voted for him that have reached out to us, they said, we loved him. And it's because he loved us and he loved them purely. And so What I'm seeing now is a group of people being divided. We are being divided over two candidates that supposedly want the same things, but I'm telling you, they don't. And that is what we believe. Wade is going to go down. He's going to stand like my father did. He's going to stand with Brian King. He will stand with Ron Caldwell. He will stand with Terry Rice, all these senators. I'm sorry for not addressing them senators, but it's been hard. We've not been able to grieve in the normal process, but that is okay. You know, my dad didn't get to live the last few years of his life in a normal process. So if he can do that, we can keep fighting this until it's over, and we will keep fighting this. And they can keep throwing darts, and we can take it, because once I set my mind to something, I'm like my father. We will not quit.
Yeah.
And we are praying about this daily. And I know the Lord's will be done. That is what my father always did. I shared something recently, and I'd love to share the lady's name, and she may come forth, but she is a leader in our community. And she said, I reached out to your dad more than once. And one of the most important things he ever shared with me, but he said, you take everything before the Lord, and he will lead your path. He will light your path. He'll lead your path. And she said, I did. And I'm trying to do the same thing. And it's so hard sometimes, because
Yeah.
you want to get down in the muck and the dirty parts of this race. But at the end of the day, the Lord's will be done. And regardless of which candidate wins, I will respect them. If it is Brad Simon and he is our legislator, I will respect him in Little Rock. I'll pray for him. And if it's Wade Dunn, the same.
Before we let you go, I do want to ask, just on a personal note, Senator Stubblefield was such a wonderful man, funny, engaging, always kind to everyone. But as his daughter, what memory comes to mind? Or, what do you think about just whenever you think about your time together?
There's a million memories. I guess probably just our life on the farm, things that we did together as a family, and growing up with him was different. I loved going places with him. Loved. I told mom the other day, we were out eating, and I said, "There's nothing better than going out to eat with my dad," because he'd make the waitress feel like, she was the Queen of England. He treated everybody so kindly. And that's something that I've really tried to do, make people around you feel good. My dad always tried to make everybody feel like they were just as important, no matter their status. And, that's just something that I loved about him. And he was just a fun loving guy.
Yeah, he was. And all of us at Conduit are very thankful that he and Miss Kathi, your mom, were at the Conduit for Commerce awards dinner last summer. It was such a special time. People have commented that was, one of the best dinners we've had, and it was so special having both of them there to celebrate with us and to celebrate him. Early voting begins for this runoff race, January 27th. The election day for Senate District 26 Republican runoff is February 3rd. So in just a couple of days. What's the last piece, of information or something that you would want to tell voters there in that district as they head to the polls?
Just please really consider what is up for this election. There are a lot of issues at hand, and if you have questions, please reach out. You can reach out to Wade. You're welcome to reach out to me. I would love to share any information that I have, and just get out and vote. I know that it's not a normal time of the year, and it's hard, but we really, really need your vote in this election.
Well, I do just want to say that Conduit has reached out to both candidates. Brad Simon declined an interview with Conduit, but we're more than willing to have him back on. And of course, we hope to talk with Wade Dunn before January 27th and the runoff on February 3rd. Amber, thank you so much. You're just such a light, and we appreciate you and your mom and the entire Stubblefield family and everything that you're doing for Senate District 26 and to honor your dad's legacy. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jenny. We appreciate what you guys are doing.